Welcome back to Product X, where we decode the next big thing in tech. I'm Rena, your host. Today we're diving into a story that's got the entire Silicon Valley buzzing. An AI search startup that just landed a massive $250 million C round, pushing their valuation to $2.2 billion. That's a 3x jump in a single year. So let's get into it. Vivian, why don't you kick things off with a quick intro?
Hey everyone, I'm Vivian Liu, a senior angel investor at PreAngel Fund, and I've been tracking AI infrastructure for over a decade now.
And I'm Nolan, formerly a senior architect at a couple of big tech companies in the Valley, and I spend most of my time these days tearing apart distributed systems to see what makes them tick.
Perfect. So here's the wild part. Exa. This company just raised $250 million from a 16Z, with YC's Garry Tan calling them the only choice for AI agents to retrieve information. Vivian, in a market where everyone says Google has search locked up, how does a startup convince top-tier VCs to drop $250 million on this?
Honestly, Rena, what gets me isn't the search market as we know it. It's this framing Exa uses. They're not competing with Google for human queries. They're building for AI agents, and they estimate those agents will generate 1,000 times the search volume of today's entire internet. That's not an incremental play. That's a bet on an entirely new species of user. And when you look at their client list, Cursor, Cognition, these are the hottest AI coding assistants. You're seeing early adoption from exactly the companies that will scale into that future. That's the thesis a 16Z bought into.
Yeah, I want to add something here because everyone focuses on the revenue side, but the tech stack is genuinely impressive. They built their own crawler from scratch and indexed over 500 billion URLs. That's not a small engineering effort. And they didn't just crawl. They built a custom vector database to handle the embedding queries at low latency. We're talking sub 200 milliseconds response times. That's not trivial when you're serving AI agents that need to make decisions in milliseconds.
Wait, Nolan, you mentioned sub 200 milliseconds. Why does that matter so much specifically for AI agents?
Great question. Think about it this way. When a human searches on Google, we tolerate a second or two of loading time. But an AI agent running in a loop, making hundreds of calls per task, that latency compounds instantly. If your search API takes 500 milliseconds instead of 200 milliseconds, you're literally burning compute budget and slowing down the entire agent pipeline. Exa's architecture was built for that high QPS, low latency world from day one. That's the competitive moat.
Right? And from the investment angle, that's exactly what we mean when we say heavy infrastructure is the real barrier to entry. Everyone can wrap an API around GPT, but can you build the underlying engine that doesn't get choked when your client base grows 10x overnight? That's the expensive, unglamorous work that creates lasting defensibility.
So the technology piece is clearly a differentiator. Let's talk about this highlights feature that supposedly reduces token consumption by up to 20x. Nolan, break that down for us.
Okay, so here's the problem. When you ask an AI to search a web page, traditionally, you have to feed the entire page into the context window. That's thousands of tokens per query, and it gets expensive fast. What Highlights does is it runs a small extraction model in real time, picks out the most relevant 500 character snippet, and that's all gets sent to the main model. The accuracy on their simple QA benchmark was basically the same as reading the full 8,000 character page. You're getting 1/16 of the token cost for equivalent results. That's a game changer for anyone building AI products at scale.
I can speak to this from the founder side too. We see this as a huge unlock for their pricing model. They're not just selling search, they're selling efficiency. When your customers are spending millions on API calls, cutting that cost by 90% is something they'll pay a premium for. This is why they're already embedded in Gemini's agent marketplace. Google literally needs them because they can't replicate that efficiency internally fast enough.
That's a really interesting point, Vivian. You're basically saying Google inviting them into the ecosystem is also an admission that they can't build this themselves?
Look, I wouldn't put it that bluntly, but yeah, there's a certain irony in Exa being both a potential Google competitor and a partner in their agent marketplace. It's the classic embrace, extend, extinguish play, but Exa's betting they can stay ahead of that curve because of their data advantage and the custom silicon they're training on.
Let me jump in here, though. There's a real operational challenge underneath that optimism. They claim 500 billion URLs, but the internet is growing exponentially every second. Maintaining a crawl infrastructure that keeps that data fresh at scale, that's a money pit. And beyond text, you've got video, audio, multimodal content. That's where the next frontier of retrieval is going to be. Can a startup really outpace Google and OpenAI on that front? That's the billion-dollar question.
So, we're looking at both massive opportunity and serious technical challenges. Let's shift gears a bit. Vivian, from your vantage point, what's the biggest risk factor investors should be watching here?
For me, it's the dependency risk. They're embedded with big players like Google and Anthropic, but those same players have massive R&D budgets. If Google decides to go all in on agent search next year, Exa could find itself squeezed between partnership and competition with the same company. The team just brought on the former LaunchDarkly president as CRO, which signals they're serious about enterprise sales, but building that direct customer relationships takes time they may not have.
Nolan, any technical risks you'd add to that?
Definitely. Data freshness is the lifeblood of search. If their crawl rate falls behind or their recall metrics drop, even the fastest API won't save them. And honestly, the vector database space is getting crowded. Pinecone, Weaviate, Hudrant, plus all the cloud providers rolling their own. Exa's custom solution is impressive, but it also means they're on the hook for maintaining and optimizing it themselves. That's a heavy operational burden for a growing company.
These are really nuanced points from both of you. Okay, let's do a quick lightning round to wrap up. First question, biggest surprise in this funding round?
Honestly, that YC's Garry Tan went public with that only choice statement. That's unusually direct for a VC.
For me, it was the 500 billion URL number. That's huge scale for a startup.
Second biggest threat to Exa's future?
Google deciding to make agent search a first-class product and eating their lunch.
Or OpenAI building their own infrastructure and cutting out the middleman entirely.
Third, hot take. Will AI agents really search 1,000 times more than humans?
I think it'll happen, but maybe not in the timeline people are hyping. Give it 3 to 5 years.
The math checks out if you think about agents automating tasks that humans do manually today. Yeah, I buy it.
Fourth, if you could change one thing about Exa's strategy, what would it be?
I'd push them to diversify beyond the US market faster. There's massive demand in Asia and Europe.
Honestly, I'd want to see them open source some of their tooling. Build the ecosystem before competitors do.
Last one prediction. For the AI search space in 2025?
Consolidation. 3 or 4 players will emerge, and the rest will get acquired or die.
And the survivors will be the ones with the best data moats, not the prettiest UIs.
Love it. Okay, Vivian, give us a one-sentence summary of what Exa represents in this AI era.
Exa is betting the farm on the idea that AI agents will become the dominant internet users, and they're building the highway those agents will drive on.
Nolan?
They're the real deal, technically. Whether that translates to a defensible business is the question we'll answer in the next 2 years.
Well said. Thanks to both of you for the sharp insights. And thank you for watching Product X. If you want more breakdowns like this, hit subscribe and leave your thoughts on AI search in the comments. I'm Rena. See you next time.